Welcome to another podcast, Off the Wall with the Financial Mirror. Our guest today is the ambassador of Armenia, resident in Athens, but also with jurisdiction including Cyprus. The ambassador, Mr. Tikran Mgerdician, is here on a visit, fact-finding and a regular visit, establishing and reinstating good relations that exist between Cyprus and Armenia, not just in recent years, but historically also through the Armenian community of Cyprus. Your Excellency, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for hosting me.
There's been a lot of events happening, shall we say, the past year. The situation in Artsakh, the situation of where Armenia stands as regards the events around Europe, not just Russia, Ukraine, but there's also the Middle East, the entire region. There's developments in Europe itself. So perhaps can you just tell us a few words about your latest visit to Cyprus?
So thank you very much once again for hosting me to this podcast. It's actually first ever such format of an interview that I'm having.
Good.
And I hope it will be successful. Well, this is my visit to Cyprus as an ambassador of Armenia to Cyprus. For some time I was unable to visit Cyprus, so this is like resuming in a way my functions as ambassador. I'm planning to have a lot of meetings, several meetings with the government sector, academia, and also research institutes, and also municipalities. I have already had a meeting with the Paphos municipality, the mayor, very interesting meeting and promising also meeting. The aim of each of all of this is, of course, to continue strengthening and enhancing relations between Armenia and Cyprus. Traditionally very strong, as you correctly noted. We consider Cyprus as, and Cyprus is, one of the main partners of Armenia in the EU. I wouldn't refrain from saying that it's a strategic partner, certainly. Not only in the EU, but also bilaterally. It's an extremely, reliable partner and very strong supporter of Armenia on all matters of interest. And certainly Armenia is also supporting back in Cyprus wherever there is a need for that. So in the near future, also in the upcoming days, we're expecting the visit of the Cyprus Defense Minister to Armenia. So it's also the cooperation between us is not only including the usual political, social, economic cooperation, but also and importantly cooperation in defense. And we had a visit of the defense minister of Armenia to Cyprus late last year, and now we will have a reciprocated visit from the Cypriot side to Armenia, which hopefully will further enhance Armenia's defense partnership with Cyprus. So this is the main outline and the framework of my recent visit to Cyprus.
Okay, so it's not just social events such as meeting the community or economic to boost bilateral ties. It goes into perhaps even a little bit deep into political. Well, that brings me to the next question on the political aspect. The recent events with Azerbaijan occupying, taking over Artsakh. What has happened since then, and where does Armenia stand now with Azerbaijan? Because we often hear or read about threats or some instability along the borders, a situation of which I must say we are quite well aware of even here in Cyprus. So what is the situation today as regards this issue?
Well, it's well known that Armenia and Azerbaijan are continuing to negotiate to finally establish relations, and the negotiations are around basically the peace agreement. We have stated several times that Armenia is ready and to proceed with signing a peace agreement with Azerbaijan. From Azerbaijan, we have also heard such willingness, but there are a few matters, few issues which are still in need of clarification and mutual agreement. So one of the main issue is that the agreement definitely will endorse the territorial integrity and sovereignty of both states. Mm-hmm. And the territorial integrity of both states, the last document that confirmed this matter was the jurisdiction, which was mutually agreed upon, was the Almaty Statement in 1991, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when the states reaffirmed the administrative borders existing between the countries, and in this case between Armenia and Azerbaijan. The borders were at that time, the administrative borders were delineated in 1969, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and 75 it was finally delimitation was completed, demarcation was completed. So the borders do exist. What is needed is to reaffirm the commitment to that statement, to that document, to that declaration, because that is, we do not need to reinvent new borders. So when we are talking about delimitation and demarcation, we're not talking about inventing something new. It is about reaffirming what has existed in the past, in order to avoid, a whimsical interpretation of where the borders stand. Because we have seen in the past that, for example, Azerbaijani leadership in the past has said wherever our soldiers stand, there our borders run.
That is where our border is.
Yes. So it's a whimsical and irresponsible, approach to bordering to borders, existing borders, because they have existed and they do exist, and they need to be respected as anticipated by international law. Therefore, this affirmation of the Almaty Declaration is of essential importance, and the recent delimitation that was held in the northeastern part of Armenia, between Armenia and Azerbaijan, was basically implemented according to the Almaty Declaration's logic. Therefore, Azerbaijan's somewhat resistance to include Almaty statement in the peace treaty, peace agreement, is not encouraging, so to say.
Yes.
So it needs to be revised, and if we want to have a peaceful and prosperous region, we cannot, proceed with dubious wording in the peace treaty. The next point that is of concern is certainly we are for connectivity and opening of all borders and all routes, trade routes, railroads, etc. That have been in existence in the Soviet period between the countries, as well as to open new ones. But all of this should be done according to the logic of international law, which is that the routes and the routes and connection roads running through the countries, they should be within the jurisdiction of those countries. So those countries should be responsible for the safety and security of those roads, and checkpoints should be functioning upon entrance and exit of the border checkpoints. Armenia supports this line of approach, and this is something that is also strongly supported by our friends in Europe and the United States, and this is not only these countries, but also several other countries in the international community, China, India, you know, name it, you name it, Iran. I mean, so it's so this has been the approach of the international community. But Azerbaijan, unfortunately, on this point also, it's from time to time, it's, you know, referring to a logic of corridor, which should function according to its logic in the southern Armenia,
and the southern strip.
Yes, and which should be within the which should be provided. The security should be provided by third countries' forces, and there should not be any checking points, etc. So this is totally running against the logic of international law, and it's not supporting sustainable security and safety of the region. So this is another point where we have a disagreement, and I think its references to, for example, 2020 November 9th statement, you know, as if there is a point about corridor. Is certainly a disingenuous step, because there is no mentioning of any corridor within Armenia in that statement. There is a mentioning of a corridor, which is Lachin corridor, which in fact does not exist, as well as all the other articles of that statement have been violated. And basically this document has become defunct. Invalid. So it's not anymore valid to refer to a document which has ceased to exist, and all of its points have been violated by Azerbaijan. And to claim just one article and misrepresenting, misinterpreting that, and then bragging internationally, saying that I am the one who invented the term Zangiza corridor. So it's so everybody understands this, and this is totally unacceptable. Armenia cannot accept such logic. So these are the main sort of points of, I think, disagreement on the or stumbling blocks on the way to having signing an agreement. Of course, there are some other issues, such as, and we should not refrain from talking this. This is very important, of course. The return of all the prisoners or captives that are held in Baku prisons, and artificially there are cases against them, including the former leadership of Nagorno-Karabakh, and this cannot be ignored. Another point is the cultural heritage of Armenian cultural heritage in Nagorno-Karabakh, which is alarmingly quickly being either eradicated or distorted. Its essence of or identity has been distorted, presented that it's not Armenian, and this is of course vandalism, and the aim of which is to exclude the future return of the Armenians. So this is very important. And also not only the heritage, but also the cemeteries, property and of the Armenians, the symbolic buildings such as the Parliament of Nagorno-Karabakh, former Parliament building. These things are being done and videotaped and shown to the public, and especially to the Armenians, to put further pressure and psychological pressure about the impossibility of their return in the future. And of course, the third is the right of the return of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh. At some point, we're not daydreaming. Of course, we cannot speak about this. We cannot plan such a thing right now. But given the political structure of Azerbaijan and the political rights of the Azerbaijanis themselves in Azerbaijan, minorities have. You don't hear about minorities in Azerbaijan generally, or
you don't hear about freedom of speech in general.
You may hear such about this or that minority when it's convenient to the leadership in Baku. So this and regarding Armenians, of course, the policy is to exclude the return. And there is also another feature of more expansionist agenda, which is being propagated in Azerbaijan the so-called Western Azerbaijan's dogma and the and so-called Great Return of Azeris to Western Azerbaijan, which is presented the entire territory of Armenia. It's politically backed by the leadership of the country, and you know, if there is any genuine willingness to live in peace and you know, security and stability in this region, Azerbaijan needs to stop all of these activities to return to a more, you know, civilized way of negotiations and not, you know, putting pressure constantly and threatening Armenia with in its existence. So, so these are topics that need to be understood and elaborated on. But of course, Armenia is not, you know, using any of this in order to refrain from negotiating with Azerbaijan in terms of establishing relations and signing peace agreements. So this is something that is going on, and it should go on until we achieve you know, safe and secure environment for the Republic of Armenia.
Okay. Well, where is there work to be done in order to ensure that either these negotiations are taking place in a fair environment, or where is more work that needs to be done on behalf of Armenia to gain some assistance? Is it possibly the European Union? Is it possibly a lot of individual European countries? I mean, let's not go as far away as the United States or NATO or other international alliances, or even Russia, which is now busy with another conflict somewhere else. So what will help Armenia? Turning to Europe for assistance, for assisting either with helping to find a peaceful negotiation with Azerbaijan, or in general establishing stronger ties with European states or even the European Union itself?
Well, in normal conditions, of course, Armenia should be negotiating with Azerbaijan, which it is doing, of course, without any external actors. But we don't live in normal conditions. Therefore, there is always a need of not, I wouldn't say support, but you know, presence of the international community. And the negotiations have often been conducted in the presence of mediators. In the past, it was the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairmanship. Currently, this is not functioning because of the disagreements within this, between the countries in this format.
Yes, just a quick reminder, OSCE Minsk Group,
co-chairmanship,
members?
United States, Russia, and France.
And
so
France,
there is, understandably, there is, the group is not functioning right now. But eventually there were negotiations that have been conducted in the presence of Russians, as well as independently also in the presence of the United States, as well as EU member states and EU generally. So it's not that we are seeking for this support, but the international community has been kind enough to offer its assistance in achieving peaceful coexistence between our countries. But it's not only the West or you know or Russia, you know, that have been viewed as potential supporters of the process. I should underline that in the presence of Russia, negotiations have not been conducted for a very long time. So, but there are also, you know, other formats that are possible to discuss. So it's not the external actor that matters, you know, in this situation. It's what matters is the political will that exists in Armenia. And the political will expectant from Azerbaijan, you know, genuine and sincere political will, if they are ready to step up and embrace the, you know, this negotiation and genuine negotiations that are being offered by Armenia. So, but as of partnerships or partners, Armenia is ready to, you know, welcome any of the partners that are really genuinely interested in supporting the support in Armenia, first of
Yeah.
all. So be that from Asia or from our region or from Europe or from the United States, this we can discuss this, of course. But the European Union is certainly one of the most important partners in this process, and not only in this process, but in the progress of Armenia in the coming decades, I think.
Because Armenia has undergone quite a lot of reform as well.
Absolutely.
The same way that, again, coming back to Cyprus, we remember with EU accession in the case of Cyprus, how much reform had to take place in all sectors, not just the public sector, institutions, infrastructure, etc. So that is also happening right now in Armenia, and not just for the benefit of Armenia, but also for harmonizing Armenia furthermore with Europe and the European Union?
Sure. I can certainly say that with the EU we are at a new beginning. The rapprochement between the EU and Armenia over the last few years is in many ways unprecedented. Make no mistake, of course the general framework of Armenia and EU relations is the CEPA, the Comprehensive and Enhanced Partnership Agreement, that was signed earlier. But this is the general framework. But the implementation is carried out right now in an unprecedented way, and new toolkits and new agreements or new formats are being introduced in this process, which further enhance Armenia-EU relations and enhance our EU's role in Armenia.
Yes.
And in all areas of Armenia's cooperation with the EU, all areas. I mean, it's not only reform agenda or democratic processes in Armenia, judiciary reform, other reforms. It's also about economy, it's about investments, it's about sustainable growth, it's about generally resilience, which we call. But also in the defense, in security, this is rather all-encompassing cooperation, and just recently, all of these all these points were underlined in the negotiations. In just June, I think 11th, 12th, there was the EU Armenia Partnership Committee met in Yerevan. And all of these areas of cooperation were underlined, which were also underlined especially during the meeting and after the meeting between Ursula von der Leyen, Nikol Pashinyan, the Armenian Prime Minister, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and Vice President Joseph Borrell. So after that meeting, which happened on April 5 in Brussels, the main directions of cooperation between Armenia and EU as well as with US were underlined. It's a rather detailed statement and is very much a guideline for our relations.
Yes. Well, another EU aspirant, potential partner, but a neighbor of ours is Turkey. Turkey also aspires to get closer to the European Union. They actually want full EU accession, but there's so many issues that is holding it back. What is the situation today between Armenia and Turkey? Because we know that it's not just the issue of Armenia and Azerbaijan, and I could even say, in my own opinion, that the relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan are also sort of mirrored in the relations between Armenia and Turkey. Even though, fortunately, we have seen in recent years Armenia's relations improving with the north, with Georgia. It's always been a good relationship, but it's become warmer. And there's the issue of Armenia with Iran in the south, which has always had a respectable relationship. But it's the international events that prevent that from developing further. So Armenia really doesn't have a choice. It's got Azerbaijan to the one side and Turkey to the other side. And we're not even discussing the historical issues. So what is the situation today, if you could conclude?
Okay, before talking about that, I would like to make a couple of more points about our relations with Europe. As a general outline, I would like to stress that Armenia is getting closer to Europe, not because what Armenia is selling or not what Armenia is what Armenia can propose to Europe.
Bringing to the table.
Exactly, yes. But because what Armenia is, and what country Armenia is. And Armenia is a democratic country, respecting human rights, freedom of speech, and all basic and fundamental freedoms. And Armenia is, in its value system, basically, it's a European country.
Yes.
That's why, so I want to make this very clear, that's why Armenia is getting closer to Europe. Armenia is, from the point of civilization, it's a European country, and it's very natural that Armenia is getting more proximity with Europe. And also I would like to add that the statement, I made a reference to the statement, I would like to quote from that statement something here, that during that statement all sides reaffirmed their support for Armenia's sovereignty, democracy, territorial integrity, and socio-economic resilience, once again stressing that a prosperous, sovereign and democratic Armenia that develops its own partnerships and freely sets its own course will contribute to regional stability and prosperity. Yes. So the document basically underlines that Armenia is and is capable to offer something in many ways, and this is we're talking about stability and prosperity. Yes. And of course, for example, the Crossroads of Peace, which is a concept that has been proposed by the Armenian government, is about that. It's not only about trade, but it's also stability, peace and connectivity between the East and the West, North and the South. So this is something that has been very much welcomed by our partners in the West, and we hope that our immediate neighbors also would not reject this. I mean, there is still a lukewarm position from on behalf of Azerbaijan and Turkey, but we expect that eventually they will understand that the long-term interests of the region is about inclusivity, and that everybody in the region participates in projects that are aimed at enhancing our prosperity. So you cannot have prosperity of your own prosperity at the cost of the other, of your immediate neighbor. Yes. So circumvening by all means Armenia in all these projects that Azerbaijan has been doing over the past decades is not benefiting the regional security and safety. It's not in the interests, first of all, also of Azerbaijan. Yeah. Therefore, the idea, the Crossroads of Peace that has been proposed by Armenia, it's a brilliant opportunity for our neighbors also to finally sort of establish these relations. Also, I would like to stress that Almaty Declaration was welcomed by our European and American partners in that statement, and also in the later, bilateral meetings, because Armenia's sovereignty and territorial integrity is of utmost importance for not only Armenia but also all Armenia's partner-friendly countries. And there is also in our talks with the EU, there is also of utmost importance is the launch of the dialogue on visa liberalization, because this is something that has been ongoing for some time. The process of launching of this. I hope we are very close to this. Once this happens, it will further bring Armenia closer to Europe, because it's people-to-people contact is the first step of further enhancing economic and political and security cooperation between our sides. Now, coming back to your last question about Armenia-Turkey, this is very interesting because just yesterday there was a press release about the telephone conversation between Armenian Prime Minister and Turkish President, and according to To this, the sides have reaffirmed their commitment to continue the talks on establishment of diplomatic relations without any preconditions. This is extremely important, of course, because in the past we know that Turkey had been using the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh to block its establishment of relations and opening of borders with Armenia. So now Turkey, we see that Turkey is more or less expressing willingness to proceed without any preconditions, and understandably we all understand that after Karabakh's ethnic cleansing, in a way Turkey should not have any reasons to create artificial problems for Armenia. Well, should not, but
yes.
Unfortunately it has been very much deferring to Azerbaijan on every step it is making towards Armenia. So there are special representatives appointed by the government of Armenia and by the government of Turkey who are regularly meeting. Initially there were expectations that the borders might be closed for third countries' citizens as well as for people with diplomatic passports. This is still to be seen, to be implemented, so it's not yet implemented. There was an idea to jointly restore the Ani historical bridge in Ani. So this is also to be, we are looking forward to see when it will happen. I firmly believe that Turkey's normalization of relations with Armenia will contribute to Azerbaijan act more constructively in the negotiations and go forward in terms of signing the peace agreement without creating artificial hurdles. This would be an incentive I wouldn't like to use the word pressure, but it would be an incentive to regional security and safety.
Yes.
Because when Azerbaijan sees that there is an unwavering support to its whimsical behavior from Turkey, it acts unfortunately, more destructively and not cooperatively, more arrogantly, if you like. Therefore, Turkey can play some positive role in this respect by initiating the normalization of relations with Armenia. It's in the interests of Turkey, it's in the interests of Armenia, of course, it's in the interests of Azerbaijan and the wider region. Therefore, Turkey's foreign policy should not, it has been, but it should not be a captive to Baku's desires. So this is this is how I see the process, and hopefully we'll have some good news on one or the other account.
Very good. Your Excellency, thank you very much for this extremely informative session, because you've also clarified quite a lot of points, and perhaps it's good to continue our dialogue in the future, even though you may be in Athens, but Athens is just a step away, but it's also just a Zoom call away as well. So I think we will need to follow up and to monitor how things are developing, because it is important not only to Armenia, Azerbaijan, and as you said, Armenia-Turkey, contributing to that Armenia-Azerbaijan relationship improving somehow, but also it will help improve Turkey's image within the European Union, where we in Cyprus also see the realities of when Turkey itself acts in a destructive or a non-productive manner. It just doesn't help it at all, and we're all just waiting for something to happen, some progress towards a solution or something. So instead of waiting, perhaps it's time to take a little bit more of proactive action, at least from any of the other sides, because quite clearly Armenia is taking its own measures. Armenia is taking as proactive actions and measures to improve the situation in the region and to establish, after all, security and stability, which is something that is definitely needed in the entire region. So once again, thank you very much for this very informative briefing, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much. I'm at your disposal, of course.
Thank you.
Thanks.